Welcome to tonight's City of New Franklin Council meeting. We're going to start off with our committee meetings. First one's going to be Finance, Mr. Cox.
Thank you. We'll turn this over to Mr. Stiles.
Yes, the Finance Committee meeting will open at 6:01. If you can give me just a moment. There you go. What we have up there is resolution number 25R45, a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district fund and declaring an emergency. This isn't any new item or unbudgeted item on the list. I know we talk about this every couple months, but our funding for the police department comes in and goes straight into the general fund. And as they need it for paychecks and ordinary expenses, we move it from the general fund over to the police fund. It is nothing new or unbudgeted. So, any questions? Everybody comfortable waiving the three?
Yes.
Excellent. Then this will bring the Finance Committee to a close at 6:02.
Very good, thank you. Next is going to be the Community Development Committee, Mr. Schaefer.
We will open Community Development Committee at 6:02. Resolution 25R-46. Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the revised Summit County Intergovernmental Memorandum of Understanding for Job Creation and Retention and Tax Revenue Sharing and declaring an emergency. This is something that we've done for several years now. A lot of cities inside of our area do this. Do you have questions on it, Mary? Do you have any comments on
I think this just raises the threshold because there are certain thresholds to what trigger this agreement from being active. And I think changes the threshold from $3.5 million to $4.5 million, which
Yeah,
is
that's correct.
debatable.
Yeah, and it hadn't been raised in so many years that they felt inflationary that it ought to.
So they refer to this as the anti-poaching agreement.
Yeah, exactly.
Stops a community from coming up with an economic development incentive to steal a company or a business from another community.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments on this? Is everybody good with waiving the three? Then we'll move to Resolution 25-R-49, a resolution authorizing expenditure for portable restroom units for Sisler Park and declaring an emergency. Been to most of the parks meetings that this is talked about. We talked about several different styles of restrooms there. This seems to be the most economical for the situation we have. The park would like to put in 2 restrooms there. And right now, it would just be basically buying these and putting them in storage until we were ready to have them installed. We would do this at a cost of just about $28,000. And I'm not sure the timeline to get them actually installed would be next summer or a little bit past that, but the prices on these keep going up. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on these?
Yeah, so one of the things I just wanted to point out, in the legislation, it calls it a portable restroom. And when I think of a portable restroom, I think of something that's seasonal or something that shows up off the back of the truck. They set it down, they pump it out on occasion, and then it disappears at some time. These are actually permanently mounted. They're plumbed in, they're running water, they're insulated walls. So this is more of a permanent type installation that will last, I think, 10, 15 years out of them. Is that correct? And going back to the economical version of this, I mean, this is absolutely a more economical way to go. I'm looking for another project that's putting the concrete ones that you set in place, and they're about $150,000 for those. And you still have to do all the plumbing and everything else.
Well, what is the cost on these, Kevin?
$28,000 if I remember correctly.
25, 7.
We don't gotta pay the tax. Yeah, the proposal has the tax on it, that's why it's at 28, but without the tax, the total will be $25,738. And that's for 4 units, that'll be 6 stalls.
I think they're pretty nice too, honestly. I was impressed.
Sink, running water.
I know, we saw them when we were out in San Francisco back when we first started our company, that many years ago.
Yeah.
First time I'd seen them, and I thought they were very nice.
I think this would be a nice addition to the board.
I do too.
Who's going to be responsible for cleaning these things?
Service department.
And they're able to do it on a regular basis every 2, 3, daily or every 2 to 3 days? Or
I'm sure, during season.
And there's no question with the union contract as far as whether those workers would have a problem with going in and cleaning a very messy.
Yeah, none that I'm aware of. It was one of the questions that came up as we talked with one of our Park Sports members, Mark Norris, who has a couple of these units that we visited, and they're lovely. And we asked him about maintenance. He says he throws the door open and hoses them down, then closes the door, and away you go.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like it's going to be real heavy lift on the maintenance.
Is this something they could use the, I'll call it the brush fire truck to go out there if they needed to get a temporary water source out there to hose them down they could use?
Well, we're going to have water hooked up, so there'll be water source at the location.
I know there'll be water timing for games, there'll be a hose bib or a cap or something.
I would go on, yes.
They'll be locked up during winter time and winterized, so
Yeah.
won't be any need in the winter. Give me equipment 3 then?
Yep.
Next resolution is 25-R-50. Resolution approving a memorandum of understanding and authorizing an expenditure for a joint project with the Manchester School Local District and declaring an emergency. This has to be done in order to put the restrooms in. It's there's a septic system over there. It needs some maintenance or repair, whatever you like to call it, before we'll handle this flow. The school board is going to take part in this 50% expenditure with an overrun of 10% either side to if there's any expenditures past that. And then the school board would be in charge of all expenses after that, since it's their septic system. So in order for us to spend the money on the other one, we need to make sure that this is in place. Any questions?
So this one is a public regulated sanitary system, if you will. It has a NPDES permit for it. And it's listed to have 0.018 MGD per day or 18,000 gallons. So I don't think the schools come anywhere near that, so there's not going to need to be a extension of flow or anything else. So I wouldn't expect anything to affect the permit or anything. For the maintenance, looks like they're just rebuilding beds. Is that?
Yeah, essentially.
So are they? I saw some of them they're taking block and stuff out. Are they cleaning out the beds, or are they just removing parts of the walls and rebuilding them, or what are they doing?
We're gonna redo the whole thing.
Okay.
I mean, all the blocks are falling in and old sand. I mean, yes,
So
they're
they're just rebuilding the beds.
Yes.
So they're not doing any new additions to it, just maintenance.
not just rebuilding, putting back the exact same things there.
And then it is possible that number that we're splitting that could actually be reduced. That's probably worst case scenario.
Yes.
Okay.
I do have a question. We're getting 2 of the private and then 2 handicap also, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just have a cost. On section 2 of the memorandum of understanding, there's a price of $92,751. What is that? Number 2, Paul, on
Okay,
it.
how do I get this right?
Thank you.
I'm guessing that's the total of the build out of the pump station as well as the.
Yeah, the 92 would be, we gotta run the cement base, we gotta run the lines. So the total project is gonna be 92,000. 25,000 of which will be the units. Am I speaking correctly on that? Yeah.
Okay, and
And that's our responsibility.
right, and then the 92,000, is that the total price of it with
Yeah.
what the school's gonna put in also?
No, the
Okay.
92 is for the restroom units themselves and the installation of the restroom units. So the
Okay,
city's
and the
bearing the
city's
cost,
going,
city's bearing the cost of all of that.
and the
Part of
city's,
that will be the hard number of the 25,000 for the units, so that's our responsibility. So the 68,000 is what it costs to upgrade the package plant, and that's what we're splitting with the city.
right, I'm asking, the cost, the 92 is just the installation and the units themselves. That's both of those added in.
Yes.
And the cost on the units was, sorry, Paul, I lost my page.
26,000 total.
Yeah,
It looks like that 92 is the total price of the project.
Exactly.
So the 25, we're paying for the units, so that's the restrooms. And then that 68 that the school's splitting with us is the other component of that 92.
No, that
No.
would be 92 then.
No. No, it's two different amounts.
That's where I was confused.
68 is exclusively the package plan,
Right.
all right?
And the 27, 28.
92 is what it's gonna cost for the units themselves. The total includes the cost, that's a totally separate cost,
Okay.
which is
It's
going to
300.
include some, and I don't know if I got the breakdown on that one right now, but a good portion of that is the labor.
Yes.
You got the numbers on that in front of you?
Yeah. The restrooms are 20, 25, the concrete labor is around 1,100. Concrete materials, 5,300. The electric, almost 12. Electric labor, 30 or 6,700. 7,000 for plumbing labor. Plumbing materials, 3,700. And plumbing materials for the sewer line, 13,000.
So that's on this Exhibit A, I believe. It's showing it, and it comes up to 62,000.
No. Exhibit A is just the package plan.
Yeah. So
There's no exhibit for the 92.
Okay.
And the balance of these funds, so the initial 25,000 of the 92 will be the restrooms. The balance of it will come back once we have the restrooms package plans done and we get some absolute firm numbers on what the cost is gonna be. We'll come back to council for those costs. But again, that'll be out of the parks budget as well.
Okay.
So that'll be a 2026 project for the parks.
All right, so we'll have additional resolutions coming back to council.
Exactly, for the balance of that. And I did want to add that also in the MOU, and we've been holding up on, properly holding up on the 25R39, and that's the contract with OHM for design of the trail. But as was pointed out by Mr. Schaefer, that we should be sure that we have an agreement for the easement on that property. So item 8 on the MOU addresses that. And that the southernmost end of the half-mile trail is, of course, immediately behind the tennis courts. There's a diagram. The district agrees to that encroachment, and the city agrees that we'll maintain that trail. And so that then will sort of pave the way for us to go forward with if you approve the design work from OHM, so we can get about the construction of the trail.
Any other questions or? Everybody have full understanding? So we'll waive the 3 on the resolution 25-R-50. And we're gonna talk about our third, well, actually probably the fourth reading now on 25-R-39, which the mayor just alluded to, is a resolution authorizing the Franklin to enter into an agreement with OHM Advisors for the design of Cicely Park Trail and declaring an emergency. This is the diagram that the mayor was talking about. Is there a reason it's tied in the same memorandum of understanding?
Well, since we were asking the school's agreement, we wanted to have an agreement on what we're doing over there on Cicely that impacts the school, so it was easier to just make it all part of one MOU.
Okay, I guess the question I would have then is, should some of these property tax issues come to light in the city's looking for money, is this forcing us to continue on with this trail if we decide we do not have money?
No, because once the design work's done, it's gonna be good. If we have to delay the project, the basic design work will still be valid. Might need updated, but I think probably not much, if any.
Anybody else have questions or comments on that? Waive 3?
Well, don't need to wait for 3 at this point.
No, we don't. That's right, we've read it enough times, we don't need to. With that, we will close the Community Development Committee at 6:15.
Thank you. Next up is our Streets and Drainage Committee. Since Mr. Holman is not here this evening, I'll defer to Mr. Stiles.
Great, I'll open up the Streets and Drainage Committee at 6:15. First up is resolution number 25R47, a resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into an agreement with OMH Advisors for engineering and bidding services for the 2025 New Franklin State Route 93 paving project and declaring an emergency. This is a paving project that is going to go from, obviously down Route 93 from Grace Bible Church down to the intersection of Johns Road. Total cost on that is $19,500 for the entire, all phases of the project. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, the engineering aspect of it.
The engineering
Maybe will be more, that's gonna have to be bid out. But, what happened on this was it really, well, I'll call it a windfall, that, as part of the State Route 93 sewer project, once they're done, that stretch is gonna have to be paved. And we learned that ODOT was planning on paving 93, all the way from, basically from the, city line to the south. I guess it'll go all the way up to 619, or even a little farther. Or no,
It's like two different
somewhere in
things.
that range. Well, in any event, we didn't want to have to pave it twice, and we had conversations with ODOT about carving this piece out now. And we were able to do that. We're going to get some funding from ODOT to cover that portion of it. So now it's a separate project, that section, that 4,000 feet of paving is going to be a separate project. We're going to get some, I think it's an 80-20, or is it a 50-50?
You know, it's 80-20 or
Yeah.
90-10. We're
So
not
they'll
sure.
pick up 80% or 90% of that piece of paving, otherwise that cost was going to be part of the sewer project. So we were able to pull that out of the sewer project and do it as a separate project. But because it's ODOT, we have to go through this process. So this is the engineering and the bidding for that stretch of it. And I would add that we did get we got two proposals on this. We didn't have to RFQ it, but the other proposal was a little bit over $33,000. So we're very happy that OHM came in at the $19,500.
Further questions? You comfortable waiving the three? Excellent. And we'll go on to our next piece, which is 25R48, a resolution to contract with OHM Consultants as consultants for the City of New Franklin for State Route 93 Sewer Extension Project, and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with OHM Consultants for construction engineering and grant administration services and declaring an emergency. We got a quote in from them as well. It looks like the total cost for that is around $290,000. This is obviously part of our grant money from the for the sewer project.
Yes, yeah, and this is, this is a federal project. These are the federal funds. This is the $3 million. What is that? Anyway, it came in, it was, oh gosh, way back to somebody who was not even here anymore. Anyway, that was fiscal year 23 or whatever. But we got the $3 million in federal money. And so we had to go, the number of hoops you have to go through with this. The design and the construction, as I think some of you may know, for this construction engineering and grant administration, I'm advised that it's oftentimes about, roughly 10% of the project. So the $290,000 is a lot of money, but it makes sense. It's consistent with what we expected. We did have to do an RFQ on this one because it was a federal project, and we had two submissions, and we had a project review team, which among others included Mike Vinay from Summit County Sanitary Sewers, and the recommendation of that team was to award the contract to OHM. And then they submitted this proposal, which again, I think is consistent with what we would expect. So we're happy to have them on board on it. And, this is going to be federal money that's going to pay this part.
Further questions? Comments? Comfortable waiving the three? Excellent. Then I will close the Streets and Drainage Committee at 6:20.
Thank you. With that, I'll call to order the City of New Canton Council meeting. If you would, please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Charlie, if you would, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Present.
Mr. Schaefer?
Present.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Powell?
Present.
Mr. Stiles?
Present.
Mr. Wolf?
Present.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the regular scheduled meeting of August 20th, 2025?
I will make a motion.
I'll second.
For the first and the second, Kelly?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next up is our public comment section. If you would, please state your name, address, and you have 4 minutes to talk about your...
All right, thank you. My name is Guy Randall, 2471 Center Road. I'll be concise. I'm here to talk about the rough railroad crossings. I met with the mayor on this about 18 months ago, and I got distracted by some personal business out of state. I dropped the ball, and I'd just like to revisit it tonight for a few minutes. If it's okay with you, I'd like to make 5 points before you have comment. And those points are jurisdiction, the problem, the magnitude of the problem, the financial side at high level, and my final point is that I'm available to help. Okay. So, my first point about jurisdiction is that the pavement and the tracks and the boards and all of that piece of infrastructure that we all drive over is railroad jurisdiction. They have full authority over construction and all of that for that. My second point is about the problem. The problem is the crossings are too rough. They're damaging cars. They're wasting people's time. They're causing excess burn of fuel. I'm an engineer. I was curious just what is it about these crossings, characteristics and features wise, that cause this to happen. And I studied it. This is a photograph. I put a 2x4 across the high points on Vanderhoof. The issue with Vanderhoof that makes cars dive and bump is the pavement's too high. Also, part of the problem is that the boards are worn out and there are large gaps that are beyond what no doubt spec is for the flange plates. Center Road is kind of the opposite problem. The pavement is a contributor, but the boards are all worn out. Large chunks are missing. They're not even attached anymore. There are bolts on the ground, there are bolts missing. And the bolts that are there don't anchor the planet Earth anymore. When I was looking at these crossings, I noticed at the side of the road there was some hardware, and I took a closer look. I brought some photographs I want to show you. I got a bucket and a large magnet, and I collected 36 pieces of miscellaneous hardware. Not normal to find on a roadside, but it gets shaken off by these crossings. 16 broken securement devices, ratchet straps, hooks, bungee cords, that kind of thing. 21 items that I believe are car parts. We've got bearing races, U-bolts, grommets, that kind of thing. And 36 items to give you a flat tire. There's a picture of a large hole my hand is in, adjacent to the wood. I happened to be there the day that an axle broke into an entire wheel assembly fell off of a chipper of the Extreme Tree Company's equipment. That was caused by that crossing. So, in addition to that, I regularly travel about 4 counties around here, main roads and back roads. And I pay close attention to railroad crossings. And I can tell you, ours are the worst. We're in last place for railroad crossing quality. And it's been that way for a long time. My third point is about the magnitude of the problem. The traffic count on these railroads is 1,700 cars a day. It only takes 14 months for 1 million cars to pass over these crossings. That is 1,000 cars going over these crossings. Is there anybody in this room that crosses the tracks to go to work 5 times a day? There are plenty of people that do. I live on Center Road, and I recognize certain vehicles that go to work and come home at the end of the day. People who do that go over these crossings 500 times in a year. Imagine going over Vanderbilt 500 times every year. So the amount of usage of this infrastructure is very, very high. My fourth point, high-level financial, I have to ask this. It doesn't make sense to me that the railroad would have full jurisdiction over the materials of our roadway and not also have 100% responsibility for the financials of keeping it in shape. And I know that we believe that the city must pay all or part of that. But is that from handed down tribal knowledge, or is there a document somewhere we could refer to and just make sure of who's financially responsible? I would suggest if this could become a project, that would be the first thing we look for, is to see who really is responsible for maintaining it and the financial side of it. I want to explore getting a solution at no cost to the city. It's worth a look. And my fifth and final point is that I'm willing to help. I'm an experienced engineer and project manager. And my time is free to the city. If you're interested in having a project here, if I can assist you in any way, I'm available. So to summarize, our crossings are unacceptably rough. They are damaging vehicles. It's railroad company jurisdiction, and that complicates it. We all deserve better, and I'm willing to help. As a suggested next step, I would suggest a brief, concise meeting to discuss it. I have more information that you'd be interested to know, and there's a whole lot of things I don't know that you do know. And so that's my request, is that we could have a meeting. That concludes my presentation, and I appreciate you listening.
Well, certainly very well done.
Thank you for the information and stuff. I wasn't aware, at least in my experience, I mean, I just had something similar to this in another community where the rail paid for everything. They came in, they replaced the boards, asphalt, everything. Now, obviously, there's an inconvenience to the community because the railway was closed down for a few days, but they paid for everything. Is that something different here?
We looked at it, and I know, I can't remember, I may have corresponded with the railroad, and I think Mr. Kepler did also, and that wasn't the response that we got. you have a recollection?
They wanted us
I
to
have
pay
a
for half
record
of
of
it.
it. Is it Katie Smith? Is that who was helping you?
Possible.
Anyway, somehow, she did a great job. I didn't fully understand it, but she communicated with the railroad, who will not accept my calls, I don't have a relationship there, that they might be willing to pay for a portion of it. And there was a budgetary quote of $100,000 per crossing. But I didn't understand what percentage the railroad company might pay for.
Yeah, I have a file on it, and I can pull it out. I want to think, it was about 200,000 for each one of them, or?
I thought it was,
Brian?
I remember 150,000.
150?
I thought it was 150 for each
I
crossing.
don't remember, okay. So I will say this, I'm intrigued with your
Yeah,
experience
let
with
me
the
look
railroad.
into, yeah, I'll do some due diligence on my
Okay.
side as well, because I can think of a handful of crossings that have been repaired, not on the other communities done.
Okay,
And then we've also got Amelia Sykes, who, if I remember
Absolutely.
correctly, is still on the railroad commission,
absolutely.
for the government side of
No,
things.
she'll know.
She would absolutely be a big help. You could reach out to
Yeah.
Ms. Rover, Mr. Weinstein, or any of those.
All for that.
Yeah.
We'll follow up on
Yeah,
it.
let us do a little homework on that and see what we can.
Thanks.
I don't think we should pay for anything, because that's maintenance of their system. And our guys are not allowed to go into that right away and work. I mean, that's strict rules and regulations against that.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. The city appreciates that. There's a whole lot of big.
No, we all would, you're right.
Maybe on this one, I can only think of 2 crossings in town.
That's all.
Okay.
No.
I just trying to, there's one that I wasn't aware of.
Thank you, Mr. Randall, I appreciate it. It's great when people come in, it's even better when people come in with solutions.
And
Yeah.
offer
I
help.
appreciate that. Offer
Nicely
help.
done.
Okay.
Very appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, Fred Reader, 4133 Belcher Avenue. I would just like to know where council and the mayor are at with the short-term rentals and what is being done to address that out-of-control situation.
So, do you want to handle that now, Ed, or do you want to wait until full business to talk about?
So we have at least some loose guidelines put together that council's been circulated and we're looking at. During old business, we were going to go ahead and discuss some of the finer points of that and get everybody's input on that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, sunshine laws don't allow us to just talk offline. So our conversations about this have to be out in public. So we haven't had an opportunity to discuss this yet amongst all of us. So we're going to try to do that at old business today, and we're happy with that.
Any other public comment?
I just had a follow-up. When do you think you would reach out to Amelia Sykes? When could we take these first steps?
It'll be before the next meeting.
All right, good.
My thinking is this, that we, first of all, we research, I'll see what we, from an administration standpoint, I'll look at my file, see what communication we had. And before, I'll share, Brian and I will circle and see who we've talked to at the railroad. I'll be very interested in what your experience has been, because my thinking is this, it'd be nice to know where we are before we contact the representative. That's the way I would approach it. That if we find out that it's done other places, that they paid for it in other places, is there any statutory authority or restriction? I think we should know those things, and then now we know what we're asking for.
Yeah.
And then we can give her a heads up that we're talking about this generally, but I think in terms of really getting help from her and the other legislators, we're gonna wanna have our ducks in a row, which will probably take a couple weeks.
In my experience, if we're putting a trail and we're extending it across the track, so then that comes back to the city as it's their cost. If it's maintenance of their tracks failing, and that falls back.
They got a heavy hammer, and we all know that,
Yeah.
and we saw that, with the spills, and we've had, they held us in, I can't believe the paving prices they gave us.
Center Road, they held us up for months.
Yeah, and they got a lot of authority.
Okay.
We'll certainly have some kind of status within 2 weeks.
Okay. Do you think you'll reach out to me, or should I reach out to you next time?
I have no problem keeping the loop, or in both ways. I think we've done a pretty good job of communicating.
Okay. Do you have my email address, or I can send it to you again if you want?
I'm quite sure I got it, but
Yeah.
because if you got something from Katie, we have it on record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I've got your contact info back there.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Start off with our consent agenda, resolution 25R45, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the police district fund and declaring an emergency.
This motion falls to the finance committee. Can I get a motion to waive the 3 for resolution 25R45?
I'll make the motion.
Second. We have a first and a second.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 25R45.
Second.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-0. Resolution 25R46, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the revised Summit County Intergovernmental Memorandum of Understanding for job creation and retention and tax revenue sharing and declaring an emergency.
This was brought forth and forwarded by the Community Development Committee. Somebody like to make a motion to waive the 3.
I'll make a motion to waive the 3.
Second.
I'm sorry, it was Mrs. Jones and Mr. Powell.
We have,
Mr. Powell?
yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 25-R-46.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-0. 25R47, Kelly.
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into an agreement with OMH Advisors for engineering and bidding services for the 2025 New Franklin State Route 93 paving project and declaring an emergency.
This resolution was brought before the Streets and Drainage Committee. Can I get a motion to waive the 3 on resolution number 25R47, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Sorry. Can I'd like to make a motion to adopt 25R47.
I'll
Before
second.
you go to a vote, can we double check this? Because I think it's OHM, not OMH.
It is OHM. I didn't see it. It's-
So we need to amend that.
All right, so we need a motion to accept the resolution as amended to OHM.
Absolutely. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution as amended from OMH to OHM.
Second.
Looks like it's titled wrongly. Throughout the rest of this properly.
So we have a first and a second.
We adopting?
Yes.
Okay, and who is the second?
I was.
Thank you. Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes, resolution passes 6-0. Resolution 25R48, Kelly.
A resolution to contract with OHM Consultants as consultants for the city of New Franklin for State Route 93 Sewer Extension Project and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with OHM Consultants for construction engineering and grant administration services and declaring an emergency.
This resolution was also brought before the Streets and Drainage Committee. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3 for resolution 25R48.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 25R48.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-0. Resolution 25R49, Kelly?
A resolution authorizing an expenditure for portable restroom units for Sisler Park and declaring an emergency.
This was in the Community Development Committee. Can we get a motion to waive the three?
We have a first and a second. Oh,
Who
I'll
was the
second.
second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 25-R-49.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-0. Resolution 25R50, Kelly?
A resolution approving a memorandum of understanding and authorizing an expenditure for a joint project with the Manchester Local School District and declaring an emergency.
This also was in the Community Development Committee. Can we get a motion to waive the three?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 25-R-50.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-0. Resolution 25R39, Kelly?
A resolution authorizing New Franklin to enter into an agreement with OHM Advisors for the design of the Sisler Park Trail Project and declaring an emergency.
This was in the Community Development Committee. Can we get a motion to adopt resolution 25-R-39?
I'll make the motion.
We have a first and a second. Did you make a motion or just ask for a motion?
Yes, for me. I
Okay,
did
so
the
we have
motion.
first, we have a second.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Resolution passes 6-0. That ends our consent agenda. Next up is our favorite part of the meeting, the mayor's report.
All right, excellent. Glad to hear it. Let's see here. Okay, we, as you know, and I don't know if I public, I hope I did last time, we thank Paul Donatelli for his wonderful service on our Planning and Zoning Commission. He just did a marvelous job. For a variety of reasons, he reluctantly resigned from Planning and Zoning. As you know, we have a lot going on there. We're in the middle of the revision, and so we wanted to fill that seat. We have an alternate, Diana Huey, and she was, I guess, vetted, for lack of a better term, extremely well qualified, and at least in my view, has been done a wonderful job on that commission. I mean, she was, well, I think she got advanced degrees from Cornell, and she's worked in the industry, and she's worked in that area. And so I would like to move her into Paul Donatelli's seat. So I would ask for, I'm recommending that her appointment to the balance of his term, which would expire December 31st of 2026. And I would need a motion from council to approve that appointment.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second, Kelly?
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I may real quick, to jump on that. Like you said, the commission has been going through a lot, having a lot to deal with over the past 12, 18 months. And Mr. Donatelli has ran those meetings, those public hearings, very professionally. I think he kept the meetings on track without offending anybody, keeping the subject matter on top of things. I told him this, and I just wanted to share it publicly. I think he did an excellent job as being chairman. It's going to be it's too bad that we're going to lose him, but thank him for his everything he's done for us. That was a big job, and at times I'm sure not pleasant for him, but he still handled it professionally and with grace, so.
I'd like to echo Mr. Cox's comments as well, because anytime I reached out to Mr. Donatelli, he was always more than happy to take time and talk to you. Or he was always listening. He wasn't just looking at you just to acknowledge you. He listened, he gave great feedback. He's going to be great at this. So I'd like to thank him for all his efforts and all his time he spent. He's been on a commission for
A number of
12
years,
years, 8, 10
at least, yeah. All right, thank you for that. And then that does open up the alternates position. Now, that position just runs through the end of this year. That's a one-year term. You've talked to some people on the commission and asked them to recommend the people that they thought might be interested. And I received a recommendation from a young lady named Hannah Norris. And she came up to see me and is very interested in serving. She is younger than everybody else on that panel. She is, again, I sent you a resume, is extremely well qualified with her experiences. She has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Akron. She's worked in the industry since 2014. Lead mechanical engineer with Berardi, also mechanical engineer with Osborne. And then she put this impressive list of projects that she's worked on, which is the commercial, mixed-use, multifamily, commercial office buildings, residential. She's covered the gamut. I think she would be a fine addition, and she is interested and willing to come on as an alternate for the balance of this year. I do intend to advertise as we did last year for the seats, because each year we have one seat opens and the alternates open each year. So we'll still go through that process, but at least for the balance of this year, I thought it would be a good chance for us to get to know Hannah and Hannah to get to know the lay of the land for the balance of the year. So I would like to appoint her as the alternate on planning and zoning, and I will need a motion to approve that.
I make a motion
I'll second.
Citizen.
for the first and the second.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
I'd just like to comment, I mean, both Ayana and Ms. Norris, they had very impressive resumes. Ms. Norris, some of the stuff she had on her was very impressive. She worked on the Vanderbilt down in the Carolinas. It's a 1920s historic hotel that's just amazing. I mean, some of the projects she had are just unreal.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive to have that talent here in town that's willing to basically volunteer, essentially, because that's what they're doing,
Yeah.
and help make our community better.
Those ladies really did an addition. They really
Well, my
are.
eyes are on it.
I know, but I think she was an alternate.
Yeah.
Well,
She really was excellent.
And I think she's got the personality that's good. Well, she's going to play well with others. So thank you. So I'll communicate that to them. We'll get them right on board.
I'd also like to thank you for circulating those materials and ahead of time, when it was going to get a chance to know those people before.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other? They're going to be put right to work. I think. Well, we got a couple coming up in October. All right. Next order of business: abandoned facilities ordinance. And that was brought to our attention with Mr. Kepler, and then Mr. Powell had experience on that in terms of some pipes that I think the gas company was working, and they didn't have a duty to take them out of the ground, and we thought maybe we could find a way to do that. And there was we saw this sample ordinance from another community. I took a look at that ordinance, and it's in that community. It's in the specific section, chapter 1020, on the use of public ways for small cell wireless facilities and wireless support structures. And from looking at it, at least that language looks specific to small cell and wireless. So, and I couldn't find one there that was more expansive than that in that code. So we are going to research that, and I suspect that we can draft something very similar, and then maybe we can make it more generic that applies to any and all. So we're working on that, and I'll try to have something in the next 2 weeks on that. All right, let me see here. State next meeting, Wednesday, October 1st, we'll have probably a 20-minute presentation from the team on the State Route 619 corridor, the planning grant that we had. We've mentioned there's been plenty of input, so they'll be here, Josh Logan and his group, and they'll do a PowerPoint and explain what their recommendations were. And then the next step is going to be, what would we like to go forward to? How do we chase money on this project? But I think it'll be a good eye opener for not just council, but the whole community to see what that could look like. I can tell you that I was quite impressed with the work they had, and I had separate conversations. That's an AMAX grant, and we had some AMAX people sit on that staff, and I've talked to those folks as well, and they were really impressed with the work that happened to be OHM again, and they were selected through an RFP process. But they had great community involvement. They had a survey that they had almost 280 responses, and so they'll be here next Wednesday. The short-term rental. I'm sorry.
The next meeting or October 1st?
October 1st.
Okay.
Thank you.
First meeting in October.
First meeting in October. Thank you very much. And yes, and I guess we'll talk further on the short-term rental ordinance. Still kind of pecking away at that. We know that there's a shadow from Columbus in terms of some things they're going to do. Even what's proposed wouldn't prohibit municipalities entirely. It just has some specific prohibitions. Some things you can't do, some things you can't do. What's not clear to me is if municipalities have ordinances in place prior to legislation, will that supersede? There's also the issue of home rule, whether or not whatever they apply is going to be, our city's going to be bound by it. I will tell you one thing that I will speak on, that at least as I read the proposed legislation, they wanted to cap permit fees to $20, which is, you might as well not pay anything, in my view, because we're asking the city to do a number of things. We're asking our fire department to go out and do inspections. And we may, if we have answering calls, we have to set up a structure for how we're going to issue these permits and what the application is going to look like. We have to dedicate personnel to be available to do that in a renewal process. So it's not overly cumbersome, but it's not $20 worth of work. I looked at some other municipalities that had a fee of $500. Some have different. I put an arbitrary, I floated an arbitrary number of $250. I didn't think that was particularly impressive. I don't know if that's the right number or not, but I want to explain what that was about. And so, again, maybe we can get into this further in full business. Just three more things. One is the Tudor House, conservatory versus carriage house. And I always, Mr. Mustard with the candlestick or something like that. But the plans, the initial plans were for, after all the work that had been done so far, is to build an event center. And they were moving along the lines on that to build this event center. But we've also been having discussions for a number of years now of wouldn't it be nice to have, there's some really, really nice high-end glass structures that could be where the tent is. And we'll have some pictures of this, but and I'll circulate some to you. There's some really, really nice things out there. You can have tinted glass, you can have receding glass, you can have air and heat. Totally collapsible walls. You can enclose the entire structure. Probably would be helpful relative to, we expect it would be helpful relative to sound. The aesthetics, I think, it could be not just pleasing, but magnificent, I think. As I go out there and I look, the ground looks so beautiful. And you do see that tent, and if you had an entirely glass structure, you're going to see that structure. I think it could be a landmark. So that's the direction that Mason's Cove would like to go. They would like to move that head of the event center, which at least my discussions, I think it makes sense. So there's putting together an addendum to the plan that will have to come to council. We'll have discussion on all that. But I want to kind of preview that for you. When I get some initial pictures of what they might do, I'll get that to you as well. All right. And I'm also thinking, I think maybe it'd even be better for us, and I think we may end up, the city may end up getting more use out of that. I mean, we're gonna get use out of the event center. There'll be a community room there that we'll have access to. We can do indoor events once the event center is up, but in terms of the kind of things we're doing out there right now, there's been a number of times it'd be nice if we had the glass, for a variety of reasons, and again, as I mentioned, sound being one of them, and aesthetics. All right, just two last things, let's see. One is the Taxpayer Freedom Trilogy. I think I sent that to you guys. And it's these ongoing efforts relative to trying to address property taxes. So I just, from a point of information, that's out there. It looks like bills are going to be introduced in Columbus that could impact property taxes inside millage, et cetera. So we just want to, I guess we have to be, keep an eye on it. We've already done some contingency planning along those lines. But I think as that goes forward, I think we don't have to be afraid. We have to continue to be prudent. Really, that's all. And I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail. I'm really hopeful when it comes to property taxes that they don't put the cart before the horse. I think this is editorializing. I think, first of all, there ought to be discussion about what that alternative revenue stream is going to be before we try to put the brakes on the existing revenue stream. And to me, it's not helpful to the public to take it out of the left pocket and then put it in the right pocket. And we say, well, you're going to save $500 on your property taxes, but you're going to lose your tax credit. And you're going to spend an extra $2,500 a year on taxes. So anyway, that's sort of happening. We got to keep an eye on it. And to some degree, that relates to the last thing I'm going to mention. Our service department, I've had some thoughts. The mayor's, I'll say this publicly, the mayor is the service director and the safety director. That's the way we were set up back in 2006, with the expectation that at some point in time those positions could be separated. I've had some thought, gee, when is the right time relative to safety director? And I will tell you, I don't think this is the right time. I think that, from my view, in terms of asking council to consider that, I'm tabling that at this point in time for a number of reasons. I think that we want to get into next year, see what's going on with the project. It's not urgent. It's operating well right now. It's not something we have to do. But if we did it, we'd be creating another position. And the expense involved in that. So I just think it'd probably make more sense to take a little more time to think about that rather than try to do something in that regard right now. I will say that we do intend to go ahead and fill the one position that we have, because we think that we have a resignation and we're going to want to have that that seat filled before we get into the Witham one. So we're going to go ahead and advertise and fill that spot. I expect to continue to have conversations with council as we go through the rest of the year here. About what the future might look like in that regard, but nothing immediate, no immediate intention in that end to come to you and ask to separate those positions at this point. That's all I got.
Since you brought up about the service department and filling that open position, which obviously is very important, critical that we get that done quickly, I think it's important that we have a strong thought process as to the number of staff in the service department. We're continue to add projects to them. Now we're putting in restrooms for them to maintain. We're putting in a walking trail for them to maintain. I get the impression that these guys are working really hard 5 days a week, if not more, because of things happening. So I guess what I'd like for us to start thinking about as we go into next year is, do we want to hire and do we have a need for an additional person in the service department, or do we have a need for a seasonal person that is dedicated just to parks and coming out of the parks budget to pay for that person to help maintain the parks. That seasonal person could then be checking the restrooms every day. They could be taking care of any minor repairs or whatever, but more on a seasonal basis as opposed to a full-time person. So just options for us to think about moving forward.
I think it's a good idea. We did, in years past, we had seasonal, and that might be the best next step. But we'll certainly have those conversations.
Finance report, Sue?
Well, we are currently finishing up our audit, and one of the new things in the audit this year is actually a cybersecurity part of the audit, where they come out and look at not only your policies, but also what you have in place right now, access to your equipment, those kinds of things, and all the mechanics. So we had ETC Tech out with Stephen, with Stephanie and I, because we were the ones that could tell them about the VIP program, and had a meeting to go over all of that. As you probably know, since there's the cybersecurity laws that are coming into effect and how we have to have policies, we do have policies, but we are going to probably be working on adding to it from the updates that we get from the auditor's office, so that we know exactly what they want and how they want it set up. So we will probably be working on that just to add to the policies we have. But we figured we would get that information generally from them, because they're the ones that are going to come and audit us about it, whether we have it and if it's enough. So we do have insurance in place, as you know, for cybersecurity through PEP. So we have all of the basics that we need to have, but there's probably going to be a couple extra steps that we need to put in there. We're looking at training, cybersecurity training and general training and those kinds of things. So there are some things that we're probably going to add to it. So I kind of wanted to give you an update on that, because that's all a part of the audit now. Other than that, we are doing our regular stuff and getting ready to wind down to the end of the year. I can't even believe I said that, because it's getting closer and closer. So I also, with the tax information and the property tax issues, I kind of want to echo the mayor's sentiment that that I really think that these people that are coming up with these ideas should first come up with, how are we going to afford it, instead of trying to. I know that residents out there in general, if we take a general consensus, they think that there's just money there to come from somewhere. And the money comes from them. That's how we run the city. That's how all townships, everything's run, is from their tax dollars. So if you cut out the largest chunk of that tax dollars, it doesn't just magically appear somewhere else. And even when we were talking about it earlier, we talked about increasing income tax and what have you. Certain things require a vote, and people that just voted to have no property taxes are not inclined to vote to add to something else. So I think it would be prudent for people to come up with other ideas on funding before they slash everybody's funding and everybody's in the same boat and there's nobody to bail us out. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Yes, we should be remaining prudent, and I'm glad that we don't have a major debt and that we're in a better shape than a lot of other people or other cities and townships. But I think people need to, especially down in the State House, think about what are they going to do. Don't say, well, you could do this, when it's a voted matter and there's you have no guarantee that you'll be able to. Is that more important than the people not having their, the police don't come when you call because there's no police, there's no fire, back to voluntary or whatever it is, you've got a couple people. That doesn't work. And everybody's going to be in the same boat. So I wish they would solve the problem first, rather than just slash things and make everybody vulnerable. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Susan, I have a question. On the cybersecurity, I apologize. On the cybersecurity, the way I understood what you were saying, they're going to mandate what we need.
There are going to be mandates, yes.
That is the way I understood it. Okay, thank you.
quick question, with the levy on the ballot this year, what's your thoughts on timing to start the 26 budget?
I would like to do it a little later. I know that'll put it under a crunch, but since you're meeting with we have representatives that are sitting in on it, it's not like it's gonna be, I mean, we wanna know, right now, we're gonna be working off a certificate that doesn't allow us to do much. Because that's the way I had to do it. So if we wait and see if that passes, I mean, at least we know, because I can make changes at the end of the year when we do our end of the year report that goes to the county of our total of all funds. I can make those changes. I can't make it before that. So it's going to be messy.
Well, my thought is this, and because you talk about time flying when you're having fun, I think that what we'll discuss, but we may want to, first of all, the process we have been using the last couple of years has, I think, has been very effective, and it's been very informative. And so I think we certainly want to stay with that process. I've talked to the department heads already, and we'll talk some more soon, that we may end up with two alternatives. With the budget in case, so at least rough draft. I think maybe the more serious draft will be, let's assume that those funds are there, and here's the budget that we hope to adopt. But we'll also have in place that alternative in the event that we can't. But I think what's really important is we certainly want to make sure that we have something in place so that we can get 3 readings on this thing. So I think we're still working against that same timeline, where we want to have something to council by that second meeting in November. We'll know where things are by that second meeting in November. And then that would give you, 3 readings. We can always have an extra session if we need one.
I also have to find out, too, I mean, you're talking about 2 different budgets. I'm not sure that we can do 2 different budgets.
Well, I don't mean do 2, I just meant.
But I mean,
2 different plans, essentially.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, 2 different plans. But we can't just say, oops, well, it passed and we're going with this plan, because the certificate doesn't change until February.
Yeah, okay.
So I would have to check this out with the county, because yes, it'll be fixed in February, but can we run on a budget that is not in line with the
So typically what I was going to suggest, and this is just me speaking, I don't speak for the rest of the council, I would be fine with doing 2 readings on it, with us having an abbreviated period due to the unusual circumstances. That would give you all of November to get everything put together and get it to council the first meeting in December. We get it to us as soon as possible. We can discuss it the first meeting in December and possibly vote on it the last meeting in December.
That would probably be the
Just,
best.
I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are on that.
What do you think, Jim?
Well, I hate to make that decision right now. I think it should depend on, first see when we can get that budget together, but also see what type of response we get from the community, and if we're getting a strong response that, we're not limited to 2 readings, but we have a contingency plan to take the 3 readings, like the community always wants us to do.
We'll try to have something more definitive for you when we come back here our next meeting.
And I will check with the auditors on it.
Yeah.
Thanks, I just wanted to start talking about it now.
No, it's good to
Go ahead.
plan ahead.
If we do need a special meeting in December, we have 2 full weeks after our second meeting in December to plan a special
That's
meeting. So
Thanks.
plenty of opportunity for that.
All right, next up is old business. Mr. Stiles, I think you have something you're going to talk about?
Sure, I'll bring up the SDR, the short-term rentals. Obviously, we'd like to have some litigation or some resolutions up here, but because Mr. Allman's not in here tonight, and he was sort of key and instrumental in putting this together, I'd like to hold off on presenting anything of substance until we get that. But in the interest of moving this along, I kind of wanted to see if we could at least discuss it a little bit and get your guys' feedback on it, so that maybe we have it in a little more finer shape by the time Mr. Allman returns to the next meeting. We can look at that. That being said, you kind of want me to paraphrase through this quickly and you guys comment, or would you like to comment as we go along?
Bless you.
Sounds good. So our purpose here is to develop a resolution that is going to give the opportunity for our homeowners to have the highest and best use of their property while simultaneously weighing the needs of New Franklin to have to maintain their community and their culture. To do that, at the basics of this, is going to be a permit process. That permitting process will allow us to, one, have a listing of the short-term rentals in the community. Right now, we don't have any. I spoke with Airbnb, and it's against their policy to even give us theirs, or VRBO. The only way we can get them is to kind of spelunk around the websites and see what we can find, and those are like no longer complete. We can look at it and try to see, put in a date and see what's available on that date. Generally, from what we've seen, there's about a dozen of them in New Franklin at this time spread out. It isn't being overrun at all, but we certainly want to get out ahead of it before it's an issue. The first part of our legislation was kind of, I'm going to skip most of the legalese, identifying what the short-term rental is, and basically that is a dwelling that is rented to the same occupant for 30 days continuous or more. Sorry, not rented 30 days or more, so it has to be less than a 30-day rental. It doesn't apply to bed and breakfast rentals, and it doesn't apply to hotels and motels. Part of getting this will have a permit process, which will go through, number one, city council and zoning and the issues eventually, I believe, are buried in that group. So hitting kind of on that, the permit requirements, again, sorry, let me kind of recap this. This is a document pulled together that was Mr. Allman's, Mr. Wilson, mine's kind of ideas put together, and then Mr. Sugarman and the mayor's thoughts kind of in that, and then we did have a committee that looked at this a number of years ago, and some of those ideas were brought forth too. So when we're looking at this was sort of a conglomeration of those things, and again, what we're hoping to do is share, get some feedback, and decide what parts of this may work and what may not. So, where we get. So the first part is getting a permit. The second part, the idea under that is houses cannot be a distance of 25 feet. Is required between any STR premise and adjoining residential premises. That was on one of the old committee items that was up. No STR shall be located on property within 300 feet of the property line of another STR. The goal of that is to sort of spread these out a little bit. If the STR unit shares a common wall or a common driveway with another property owner, proof of written notification to the neighboring property owners is required as part of the application. Any change in ownership of the property shall void the current STR permit and shall require submission and approval of the new permit. No permit under this chapter shall be transferable to another individual, corporation, firm, partnership, or association. The STR permit shall take effect on the date of issuance and shall expire on the following January 31st. And then each year they're going to renew, and if they're renewed, we'll go to January 31st of the following year. Section 3 is the permit process. As the mayor alluded to, it is going to be an application form and a $250 application permit fee. That is, all these things are up for debate over that, as the mayor said, but that's kind of it. Those funds are to be spent only in kind of maintaining this STR rental agreement and the city costs that go along with that. As part of the permit process, what's going to be required is the names and legal owner of the property, the addresses of any other STR properties located in the city of New Franklin, owned or operated by the applicant, a site plan to include defined spaces for parking, a floor plan of the premises to include the number of bedrooms, the names of all hosting platforms that are used by STR hosts, such as Airbnb, VRBO, or any other direct marketing. The names of all advertising outlets in which the STR host intends to advertise. Proof of insurance evidencing homeowners' fire hazard and liability insurance. Liability coverage shall have limits of not less than $1 million per occurrence. Proof of inspection by the New Franklin Fire Department on an annual basis prior to issuance and or renewal of a permit. And we're gonna, they're doing that to make sure they comply with all applicable federal, state, and local fire safety statutes, regulations, ordinances, and codes. A statement attesting that the STR operation is in compliance with all applicable local, state, and federal laws. The contact name and telephone number of an individual or agency available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for any issues that may arise related to the short-term rental unit in the property. For these permit applications, the city shall cause a temporary sign to be placed for 14 days prior to issuance of the permit on the property for which the subject of the STR application for the property. And any comments received shall be used for the purpose of assisting with the city's evaluation of the application. Then there's a section 4, which is our operational requirements. The host shall provide to all guests contact information, including a telephone number, a local person who is located within 10 miles of the dwelling unit with responsibility to resolve any complaints regarding the condition, operation, or maintenance of the dwelling unit. The host shall advise all guests of trash and recycling collection days and dwelling and any applicable rules and regulations pertaining to leaving or storing trash on the exterior of the dwelling. The host shall provide proper trash and recycling containers for the short-term rental guests. Smoke detectors shall be provided. Carbon monoxide detection shall be installed. Occupancy shall be limited to 2 persons per bedroom plus 2 additional persons, 3 if minors within the dwelling unit. For example, 3 bedrooms allows 8 guests, 9 if certain of the guests are minors. The maximum number of motor vehicles that are permitted to be parked shall not exceed the number that can be garaged on premises, plus 2 that may park in the attached driveway, consistent with the site plan for the dwelling. Signs, advertising, or any other display on the property indicating that the dwelling unit is being utilized in whole or in part as an STR are prohibited. No recreational vehicles, buses, or trailers shall be visible on the street or property in conjunction with the STR use. The principal rental of STRP unit shall be at least 25 years of age. No special events, for example, weddings, bachelor parties, etc., which would involve attendance of persons in addition to the registered guests, are permitted at the premises during the rental. The permit holder shall be responsible for collecting and remitting all applicable room, occupancy, and sales tax required by state law and ordinances. All STR occupants shall abide by all applicable noise ordinances contained in the City of New Franklin Codified Ordinance. Compliance with all other applicable provisions of the City of New Franklin Codified Ordinances related to residential housing and collection of taxes related to the operation. The zoning administrator shall promulgate and enforce reasonable rules and regulations to carry out the intent of this ordinance. Section 5, grounds for denial or revocation. Zoning administrator may deny or revoke a permit if A, the application makes a material misrepresentation of fact on the application, the applicant or any owner of the STR has been convicted of criminal conduct in or on the premises of the STR, the property taxes of the short-term rental host are in arrears, the STR host is not in good standing with the City of New Franklin Tax Division, the STR has a documented history of repeated conduct that endangers neighborhood safety or of conditions interfering with the use and enjoyment of property within its vicinity, or of conduct in violation of this ordinance as evidenced by calls for service at that location. And I'm going to pop back just up there's an identification process where we identify what the calls for service are. And those are calls to law enforcement, zoning, and fire department that A, result in a representative being dispatched or directed to the short-term rental, 2, result in evidence or criminal activity, 3, result in an arrest, charge, or citation, 4, evidence of an imminent threat of safety or persons or property, and confirm sanitation, refuse, or noise issues at a short-term rental property. Again, the idea here is when the calls come in, we want our safety forces to validate the complaint. Back down to the place.
So this is this was very different than what us 3 worked on.
It is.
I just want you to know, this is way more wordy than what, and I think so I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. Go ahead.
The STR has outstanding orders from the city fire department that have not been corrected. The STR host owner fails to comply with the provisions of this ordinance. There is going to be an appeal process. The zoning administrator should give the permit holder 15 days written notice of the alleged violations against them. An STR permit that has been denied or revoked may be appealed to the Board of Zoning Appeals within 20 days of the date. There are some penalties involved, fines if some of these are out there, and that's largely the impact of it. And again, as Mr. Wolf said, this is kind of a conglomeration of what we pulled together, what the city law director and Mr. Mayor pulled together, and what the results of the past things. So, kind of throwing that all out there before we wanted to get this sort of codified into anything for next week. I was hoping to get some feedback from you guys, and we can keep this moving
We
along.
mentioned just a thought here, we mentioned the number of bedrooms. Should we have a definition of what a bedroom is? Ohio Building Code specifies that to be a bedroom, it's got to be finished, the walls, floors, blah, blah, blah. It also has to have a means of egress, meaning it can't be in the basement unless there's an exit through the basement. You don't have a bedroom in the basement, have an upstairs part, and you can't get out.
What's tough about these, and Mr. Wolf, you're not wrong. Your committee, it's like 2.5 pages turns into 10 pages. Part of that is of necessity, because these things have to be written in a way that, eventually potential for a legal review, and make sure we're not leaving anything out. I can assure you that we don't want, by the same token, we don't want to hijack the idea of the thoughts of council. And if there's stuff in here that's contrary, that's not consistent with what your committee looked at, take it out. If there's stuff we left out or we did differently, I mean, this is just designed just for a framework for discussion.
That's exactly
So I
how
want you
I
to see it
feel about
that
it,
way.
and
Yeah.
certainly even the three of us don't speak for
And so,
council.
Mr. Powell, as you say, that thought occurred. I mean, how do you say it was a bedroom? We looked at some different legislation. Some of them don't have even bedrooms in there, but that we could add that definition. I'm not saying we shouldn't.
I just want to make sure we protect ourselves against somebody having a basement, they throw up a partition wall and now it's a bedroom.
Here's what I think we have, because the trick here is that how are you going to exercise discretion when you decide whether to issue the permit or whether you decide whether to renew it? And so you certainly don't want to make something intentionally vague, but by the same token, if you got some wiggle room, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So let's assume they come to us and they say they got 3 bedrooms, and we're looking at this, and we got to see a floor plan. Plus, the fire department has to come in and make an inspection. And they come back and say, well, one of those bedrooms is, a cot down in the basement with no egress. Well, then we have a right to come back and say, we're not going to approve this. So I think as long as we have a foundation, but I think it's probably worth looking at. Maybe just be some very short verbiage. We say bedroom as defined by the building code, so it's not going to add a lot of volume to it, but it gives us even a little bit more protection. So I'll make a note of that.
Mr. Shaker, you're a realtor. I know, are there rules about when you list a house? As on the property card, how many bedrooms it has? Is there already rules around that?
Typically, we define a bedroom as a room with a closet and a heat source. And that has to have a proper egress. Those would be the major things.
Is that defined by law, or is that defined when you're
No,
going to make a listing? Do you choose how many bedrooms there
It's
are?
more of a finance type rules and regulations.
Oh, the FHA stuff.
On the building side of things, actually, the building department is kind of a means of egress.
And then there's also, if you want to get really deep, particular financing will call for a certain ceiling height too. So you can't have a ceiling that's, a bungalow that's only, 6'8". So when you walk in there, you're ducking your head, and then if it catches on fire, the smoke doesn't have as many places to go. So it can be kind of tricky.
I'll look at that.
The other thing that, and I'm not going to Airbnb my house. I'm not sure my house qualifies under these, but I'm not sure that I'm 25 foot away from my neighbor on either side. The other thing I don't see in here, is, what do we do with the existing properties that are already, there that would, put their, well, just take the 25 foot, if they're 15 foot, and we say this is now code, is there a particular date that some of these things are gonna, 25 foot is not a health and safety issue. It's maybe a nuisance type issue with noise and things. Are we gonna say, effective this date, you gotta follow all these? If you were there before that, we're gonna waive some of these guidelines?
That's an excellent question. From a legal standpoint, I don't know. I mean, I can conjecture on it right now. We always think about being grandfathered in, but this isn't. This is kind of a standalone ordinance. Is it a zoning ordinance, and do the grandfather principles come in? Can if it was already a valid purpose and now we're making it invalid? I don't know the answer on that one. I'd have to think through that. I mean, in some areas, there's, it was. Well, I don't know the answer. I'm thinking. Right now it's legal to smoke marijuana somewhere. If they change the laws, now it's not. Now you can't do it. Well, can I? Because I couldn't do it before. I don't know. Very good question. Let's assume, and it may end up. Let's assume that we get an opinion that says that we've never had the permit process. So we're saying, okay, now here's what it is. You got to apply. Whoops, you don't fit within the guideworks. We decline it. They go to court. We're going to need an answer to that before we adopt it, without a doubt. But those kind of things, those distances, and that was put in that that was thrown in here at suggestion of people. I will say to you, it makes some sense to me because particularly that these are we're going to see more of them around the lakes than anywhere else. We got more 60-foot lots at the lakes than anywhere else, and you're going to have a different neighbor every week. And your house is 15 feet.
No lake property. Why don't we just say no lakefront property? I mean, although that would, I'm still, like I said, I have a 100-foot property. I put mine all the way up against the 10-foot setback so I could have a side entry garage. So I wouldn't be able to rent my house on a 25-foot. So I'm being facetious there.
Yeah.
And I just had a couple, because these are, like I said, new. I would like to add a one-page document. Here's the deal. This part, I'm in section 2, the permit requirements of the STR in letter D. So if the STR unit, this is about getting the permit, right, of acquiring it. The unit shares a common wall or common driveway with another property owner. Proof of written notification, such neighboring property owners prior to filing the application. So does the what we call it, the host, the owner of said property, does he send a letter saying, "Hey, I'm going to do an Airbnb"? Do those neighbors have an opportunity to object? You know what I mean? Is that why we're notifying them?
That one's a new one on this, and
Okay.
I don't think that, if you're having like a duplex and half of it may be rented out, I think it's good neighborly advice to let them know. But to answer your question, I do know down further as part of our permit process is a sign that will go up at least 14 days in front of the premises that does that. So,
But once it's approved, no signs.
no signs.
No signs once it's approved.
Yeah,
I think we're there. Okay.
For that to have any teeth, in other words, so what? I get something. Hey, I put this. I'm sharing a driveway and I'm going to do an SDR, and the neighbor beefs about that. We didn't say you can't share a driveway, but where that's going to come into play, if you keep a provision like Section H, which is sort of the catch-all provision on the grounds for denial or revocation, under Section 5, subsection H, grounds for denial, any other reason not set forth above, I see there's a typo, which would substantially and adversely affect the character, value, and enjoyment of residential properties in the immediate area. So there's some discretion. Now, it's dangerous discretion. But let's assume it's a joint driveway and somebody says, hey, and now at least that guy's got a chance to come in and say, I don't want this thing on my joint driveway. And that may be the factor that leads to a denial of the permit. Whether we're gonna win that argument in court, I don't know the answer to. That would be the purpose of that provision, where we get into, or, something that's 25 feet. Somebody says, wait a minute, this thing's only 15 feet from my, even if you didn't have the 25-foot requirement, somebody could come in and say, this is 10 feet from my house. And there could be a decision, well, based on that, that's going to adversely affect value, enjoyment, et cetera. So that would be the basis for denial. This is iffy territory. That's why a lot of cities don't have one.
Section 3, I guess it's under J, but it's the second paragraph in J. Talks about any comments received shall be used for the purpose of assisting with the city's evaluation of the applicant's compliance. Who's the judge there? Who's the city?
It's going to be the zoning administrator. So with input from it doesn't come to council.
So at Barry can know. He can say if one person controls the keys to the.
Yeah, I would say in concert with administration. So I would expect there'd be discussion with the mayor's office. At least some input there. The appeal goes to the BZA, and I think that's effective. That was one thing that was suggested. And then somebody can appeal from there to the courts if they choose to. Okay. That's why these things are tough. When we start looking for sample ordinances, you find them some places you don't.
And then
there's a lot of cities in Akron that don't have them, but they don't all have the Portage Lakes either.
And then the calls for service, section J of, I believe it's 2. This will be my last point. Okay. Calls for service. So this is sort of documented, right? Results in number 1, result in a representative being dispatched or directed to short-term rentals. I don't think people would do it, but what if you wanted them out and just sort of kept on calling the police or something?
I would be in favor of 2, 3, 4, and 5 of that, which is resultant evidence, resultant arrest,
I don't like one.
evidence of an imminent threat. Number 1, I think it should go into, certainly we have a list of complaints, but whether they have an impact on a permit application or revocation, I think it's a simple complaint.
Did I remember correctly that we, and maybe just from talking to one of the police officers, that we had talked about having another ordinance for nuisance calls? So, for example, I'm your neighbor, Mr. Mayor, and I don't like the way you cut your grass, so I just call the police, and I call them for nothing, and they don't respond, and it costs the city a lot of money to put an officer out there, and it takes away from other duties they should be doing. I think at one time I heard her talk to one of the officers about having a nuisance call ordinance where, after a few times, then the person making the bogus phone calls or complaints, they get fined.
And all that stuff is so subjective, it's tough. Right away I'm thinking about it. I think, I don't know if that falls under abuse of process. There may already be something in our code. I'll have to take a look. We got one of those right now. It's, people making 50 calls back and forth. I don't know who's wrong. Neither do they. They're both wrong. But they can really be abusive. And the idea is to suggest the strikeouts and just use that as a rough draft and hack away at it.
So a couple things I have questions on, if I can remember them. We passed this ordinance. Does it take effect in 30 days, and do the current short-term rental providers have 30 days to make this process happen, or do we have a start date for when this comes together? I know there's a lot of desire to make this get this process done and presented and voted on, but we're making a lot of assumptions of other departments. Can the zoning department handle the things that we have in here? Does the zoning department have the permit process or the permit itself, ready, or, you know, I mean, are we just going to say, hey, the guy's coming in tomorrow to get a permit? You know, I mean, does the fire department have a system in place where they can go and inspect these units? I think before we pass anything that affects other departments, we should reach out to those departments and make sure that what we're saying makes sense for them also. Okay.
We did run this by
Yeah.
Barry, and he was,
The zoning part, yes, fire department, no.
And even the police department,
Police,
too,
yes.
you know.
We also have-
And then, one of the concerns I have also with this is, can I apply for a permit without owning property? Or do I have to purchase a property first and then request a permit and hope I get the permit? If I don't get the permit, I don't want that property. You know, I'm buying a property specifically for short-term rentals. So am I able to come and go through, am I able to basically get a permit or get some type of acknowledgement that yes, this property will pass inspection or blah, 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 without buying the property? Does that make sense?
I think you can put that in a real estate deal, right?
But then can we issue a permit to a non-property owner with the assumption that they're going to buy the property?
To me, it sounds like the zoning director was.
No, I get what you're saying. I would think, and I don't know the answer, that's a good question. I would hope or think, first of all, I can't picture hundreds of these coming in, but in that scenario, I would expect our zoning administrator to take a preliminary look. To say, okay, give us the site, show, you know, give us what looks like the application.
Right.
How many bedrooms, what are you gonna do with this, where is the location? So that we could at least, so that they could preliminarily look and say, you know, we don't see anything glaring here.
From the city's point of view,
Yeah,
we don't
yeah,
see an issue.
yeah.
But an issue could come up when they go
But
through
we
the
could promise it.
actual, whether it's through the neighborhood or whatever.
Right, because you have that neighborhood, no, you're right.
You know, because we're not going to do background checks on the potential owner and stuff, but we could give based on what we see here, but, you know, that doesn't guarantee you a permit or something.
Yeah.
along those lines.
And, you know, I'm processing it for the first time, and I will tell you that I don't know how interested I would be in making it extra easy for somebody to come in here and shop to buy things to do. In other words, do we really want these, period? Okay? Are they a good thing for the community? All right? You can make an argument that they are not. All right? That would much better, you'd rather have a vested property owner living in that house who's going to take care of it, and we know who they are. You don't have a different person every week. So, I mean, there's a reason why municipalities legislate against this stuff. So, you know, if the guy's got to roll the dice, well, I guess he's got to roll the dice. That's kind of the hard, but I would think at least we give him the courtesy of saying, hey, it looks like, you know, we don't see any glaring violations.
So just to be clear, I don't want short-term rentals in my neighborhood. Okay? But I want to make sure that we're doing, if we're going to do this, that we're covering as much as we can. Let's go into it. So I just, you know, I know we said try to have something in October, et cetera. Let's not make that a deadline, a goal, and see if we can get it done, but let's not say it has to be done, so we have to pass something. You know? So,
Yeah, I think your idea of an effective date would make sense too, depending on when it is. January 31st, February 1st, that's arbitrary. Initially, it was a calendar year, and then I started thinking, man, December's a really busy month around here. And we're going to, and plus, you know, when we're closing the books, and do we really want to be receiving permit money in December? And it doesn't have to be December, it doesn't have to be a calendar year. So that's why I suggested pushing that back.
I'd suggest for year one, even thinking about if we're gonna say January 31st, if that's when your applications are due, that gives people time to pull together.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you can make that effective date or whatever.
A 40-day permit, you know.
Yeah, and if it turns out you haven't adopted anything until January, you push it out to March. And it's an arbitrary, calendar year, so.
Just my thoughts, I see your points and stuff. I would just think it would have to be the property owner applying for it. And you can take that ordinance and use it as a checklist. If you were the prospective buyer, go through and say, yes, it meets this, yes, it meets this, yes, it meets that. And I would like to see it applied no difference in like a variance process or another type of zoning permit where the property owner, if he wants to do an addition or get a variance on his property use, the property owner is the one that applies for that. And I think that it saves us some resources. It stops Barry from going out looking at potential what ifs. It stops the fire from looking at what ifs. It just saves our time a little bit.
And we get in trouble if we give it half a nod and then it turns out no good, you know, so I agree with you.
Anyone else? I know looking at it, kind of discussing that, the main worry I have on that is probably a couple of those, but the 25 feet. I'd like to know from Barry, if we could, that's probably the guy who would give it to us, but how many of our houses does that knock out? I mean, like Mr. Wolf said, I'm guessing that's the majority of the houses in the lake. I do like the 300-foot rule. I feel like that stops the saturation of the community and changing that. But I don't want to outlaw this completely, especially for people who are already doing that. And if 25-foot does that, maybe that's a 15-foot rule. I understand that we want to have some buffer, but the buffer shouldn't just be we got one clause in here that kicks out half of our city.
How's a house allowed to be there? It's okay for the house because it is, you know, zoned, must have been a variance of some sort. But it's okay for an owner occupier to be 15 feet apart and maintain the peace. But yet, somebody that rents it, I don't get it. I'm against the 300-foot too. I don't see why that's there.
And whatever zoning was, if there was zoning when some of these were put on, whatever side yard distances, who knows if they were consistent with what zoning was, I don't know the answer. I mean, it's in there for pointed discussion. It's not in there because I'm convinced it ought to be. I've already said, I do have some concern with some of the lakefront enjoyment just because you got more of a transient group. However, we're not immune to the fact that some of the push impetus from this has come because of one particular place. The folks have come and talked about on a number of occasions. I don't know what the distance is between the house that people are complaining about, but if in fact it's less than 25 feet, then we sort of got to be careful of it. And we litigate that, there's going to be an argument that this was crafted just to single out that particular, and that's you know. Now, if we got good reason, well then fine, then we got an answer to that. No, it wasn't for that when it just so happens you happen to be, but we collectively thought that this made sense. But if we don't have a good reason, then that would be a pretty strong argument for somebody who wanted to litigate after the fact if they're already there. If we can even deny them a permit, you know, because they don't comply with something that they're already doing. Yeah. So I'll try to get some answers on that part for sure by the time we get back there.
Yeah, you know, just a quick look at it. I'm not comfortable with the 25-foot thing because Mr. Schaefer mentioned, well, my house would not apply. He doesn't have a lakefront house, and he has what a lot of people consider a relatively large lot. But yet, based on how houses are situated in his neighborhood, that he wouldn't qualify. Mr. Wolf, same thing. And I'm guessing he has a rather large lot, but the way the house was built and everything, he wouldn't qualify either. So it's not just a lakefront thing. But lakefront, you have people right up next to each other, and there's no way you can touch. There's no way there's 25 feet between some houses on the lakes. So yeah, I don't know that should even be a part of the ordinance.
Good discussion, Rick. It's good. It's a good start. It's a good start. Probably more than so we haven't heard from people either.
So we're going to, for next meeting, and I certainly don't want to be making any decisions about Mr. Altman on this, but we're going to take a look at what qualifies as a bedroom, maybe putting some language on that.
It's
Please think more about
buildings.
Sorry about that.
Space between buildings.
Definitely the space between buildings, maybe Mr. Goodwin could give us some guidance on how many houses that cancels out around our properties or something. I don't know if we have that number anywhere. We're doing that this year. And then the permitting process for the purchase of the property, if we're gonna take a look at that. Is there anything else on there specifically we wanted to try to get more information on before the next meeting when we talk about this?
I guess, I have like the appeal process, I have a real problem with it. The way it's worded, it says, and I just love to know the process, so the public knows the process, 14 days of issuance of permit, which is subject to the short-term application, notification of neighbors and the opportunity for public comment. Any comments received shall be used for the purpose of assisting with the city's evaluation. I really like to see a process, who's involved in that. I don't think it should fall on one person. I'm not saying they can be paid off or not, but usually if there's a group of people, so I don't know if that could go to zoning appeals. Is this not a zoning thing?
The appeal would go to the BZA. I don't know that we want to tie up planning and zoning with looking at each and every one of these.
I guess I'm not,
I
don't have the answer.
Yeah.
I would just love to have,
I'm open to discussion on it. I
That's
think it's
all I
an
want.
administrative function, though, is the problem. I don't know necessarily that it's a legislative, I suppose you could have a screening committee in place, but,
Or you could have an appeal process.
well, you do,
Yeah,
to BZA.
well, okay, to BZA, or could it go from the zoning to possibly the service director, who would possibly be overseeing the zoning, to the mayor, and then BZA as the last resort before going to court?
That's a lot of layers.
Well, hopefully it only goes one
Yeah,
step
yeah.
or something, but,
But you may, maybe create some type of review panel that maybe includes zoning, police, fire, and service. And have that,
there's a lot of layers.
have that review committee. Well, we could do it in one shot.
Right.
I think you want to keep the appeal out of the mayor's office. I think it would go through BZA.
I don't
Because
have the
there's
answer.
provisions of revised code that allow you to take that downtown if you're not happy with that.
Yeah, so where does public comment occur? That's the question.
And then who makes the
That's just
decision?
gonna, have a formal meeting, is it submitted by email from
Yeah, good point.
Barry?
Well, one of the things we stuck in here, I thought, was that it's in here somewhere that we tell the zoning administrator is gonna have to adopt some rules and provisions consistent with this. So that's a separate function that's gonna have to be put together to answer those types of questions. That doesn't all necessarily have to be in the legislation.
But knowing how long it's going to take them to come up with those rules and stuff will affect the effective date of
Absolutely.
this ordinance when we start
Absolutely.
talking about that.
I pulled up FHA bedroom requirements just as a quick Google search. It's a minimum of 70 square feet for a single occupant room, 7-foot ceiling minimum, one window for egress, a permanent heat source, and you have to be able to access that room without going through another room. And it must also have a door or something that matches for privacy, which, if you get that particular, then any room that's a loft that you call bedroom is no longer a bedroom, so.
What's that source?
Just you can Google FHA.
FHA guidelines.
No, maybe very easily plug that in. Bedroom as defined by FHA guidelines.
But those are pretty stiff guidelines. I mean, if you have a house that has a loft in it, that many people have a bedroom up there, that would not meet FHA requirements, so. And I'm going to assume some of those lakefront homes have
Yeah, I'm sure.
lofts.
All right, well, we got some work to do.
The last thing we talked about was section 1J1, which is, there's a call for service that gets logged or is used in the permit process. Number one was result in representative being dispatched or directed to the short-term rental, so
We get that out of it.
that's going to go, okay.
Speaking of lofts, I believe there are some properties that have a separate garage, and that separate garage could have a loft or possibly not living facilities, but living facilities. Would that garage be part of the number of bedrooms? Would that garage space be a part of the short-term rental? So if I have, if I have my house and has 3 bedrooms, as an example, but then across the street, I have a garage with space above that has plumbing and everything like that. Could that be an opportunity for additional people to stay within that property? I don't know. I just, we talk blocks, and that's what I thought.
Yeah, when I built a garage at my house, and I had to define mine as dry storage, so it couldn't be livable. I pulled my permit.
Well, you pulled your permit. Not everybody does. So anyway, just throwing it out there.
Thanks for the discussion, I think it's good.
Yeah, sorry for being so long.
Good stuff.
Do you have any other old business?
Farmers Market, thank you. Farmers Market, I have to tell you, you're missing a lot. We have breads, we have pastries, lotions, they had some really good lotions, really good. Fruits, veggies, delicious corn, and different crafts. So everybody, please come out. It is delicious, and we're only going to be open through September, so it's only a couple more weeks. Thank you for reminding me, Kat.
Any other old business?
I would like to mention again, and I mentioned it before, people that can afford to donate to some of our food sources like Farmington Community Services and the Akron Canton Food Bank and Harvest for Hunger. We really should do that because people are having a rough time right now. A lot of people in our communities, and they can buy so much more and distribute that food easier than we can. So if you can afford to do it, please do it.
I got one thing, Kevin. I should have put this under new business, but our local Dragon Boat team is on their way to Kentucky this weekend. I'd like to wish them luck in their race.
That sounds super. They will. You have to say that with a smile.
I do.
Okay.
Do we have any other old business? Seeing none, any new business? Seeing none, it's our second round of public comments, questions, for anything you've heard this evening.
I was just sitting there thinking, you could always just abolish them altogether and end all the discussion. Get rid of them. Because they do not enhance the neighborhood. They don't bring anything that anybody in this room wants next to them. You don't know who's staying there on any given night, or their 10 friends that they've invited. You don't know if they're criminals. You don't know who's next door to you.
We have to be very careful that we do not target specific properties.
I'm not targeting any property.
We are if we abolish everything. It's a real fine line we have to walk.
I do know that other communities have said no short-term rentals.
With this legislation coming, I think that's going to be a challenge for everybody, anybody who tries to prohibit them across the board, because that's not the sense I'm getting from Columbus of what their intentions are.
Any other public comment? Seeing none?
Sorry, I just want to add on there that this week I did have a call with Airbnb. They reached out, and I think that most of us found out we were contemplating this. Wasn't able to talk specifics with them as much as we went into detail tonight, but they were okay with the kinds of generalities that I told them. But they did provide us with a number of resources as we move forward. A couple of things they did bring up was their terms of service already bans parties or gatherings. They do have a 24-hour neighborhood hotline that we can circulate where if there's issues, they can get ahead of them, during the rental process as opposed to while it's going on. They do have a government hotline for our safety services and us to be able to reach out to deal with problem issues. And then they also stated that if for whatever reason we do revoke a permit, and they get pulled off of Airbnb, they do communicate those issues with the other rental platforms. So
That's
Airbnb tells VRBO, this is an issue, be careful.
I thought they covered a lot of things, quite honestly, the young men that contacted me. I thought they covered a lot of things, I was impressed.
Yeah, that was good. So there were some resources from them that I didn't know existed.
Same with me. I was just impressed with what he said.
Next, we don't have a need for an executive session, correct? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Have a first and second?
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Stiles?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Our next meeting is September 17th at 6 p.m. Thank you.